That's me.
Hey.
There we go.
James, nice to see you. It's nice
to see you as well.
Lovely backdrop you've got there.
It's all right, isn't it? It was a gift from a friend of mine, so I kind of
it's
I like to.
on a piece of cloth, is it?
It is, yeah, it literally is, yeah.
Wow, cool. So my name's Enzo, formerly known as Lorenzo. Changed my name recently, actually. But, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
At some of your videos, and they're ace. They're really thoughtful, considered. And you put across your point kind of with quite a natural kind of, it feels like you're linking with your kind of higher self, if that's best way I can describe it. How do you describe the way you communicate?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I mean, it's, as I try to move into that humble place and I try to think of others listening and how they'll perceive what I'm saying, I feel that I connect with my higher self, and maybe even bringing through energies of other guides that wish to sort of portray a more loving message that would probably resonate with my vibration and my consciousness as well. So yeah, for sure.
Loving kind of guy.
Yeah, I like to, I like to really focus as much as humanly possible to come from that place, because I think we've all had enough of the the other side of it with the hatred and
all that, I mean.
Exactly, yeah, totally, 100%.
So your life's been quite up and down, and then you found kind of yourself through having a voice. Is that what you're saying?
100%. And I mean, I think it's the same for everybody. Like the structure of this reality, the whole idea of this reality is we go up and down. We have these high moments to experience the peace and the joy, and then we go back down again so we may learn more, and dive in and have a look at the other side of it. Because there's quite a few really amazing books that I enjoy reading, and in a lot of them they talk about this idea of many years ago, when I'm talking like millions of years ago, when they first had these civilizations and people here, it was perfect. They were able to tap into their real true higher consciousness. They were with different abilities and gifts.
How could they do it and we can't?
I believe it's simply because we have just not reached that level of consciousness yet. If we think of the human DNA, they say that we haven't activated and unlocked all of it, and there is a part of me that does believe that. Like, why do I believe that? For example, when you have those moments, you just connect with somebody and you sort of pull, you'll be thinking something and then they'll say the exact same thing and you're like, what?
or when you kind of meet someone for the first time, it doesn't happen very often. You meet someone for the first time, you feel like you've just known them for forever. That's another indicator, isn't it? Some connection going on which you can't quite explain. You feel like you know exactly how someone's going to respond, even when you have never met them before.
Absolutely, and it's fascinating, isn't it? Because and in that moment it's a knowing, because people will be like, well, what do you mean you've known them for years, or you feel like it? Well, you just know that, and I've had that. I still have that connection with a lot of really close friends, and some of them I've never even met. They're halfway around the world in America. And they're like brothers and sisters to me, so it's fascinating.
Have you got you someone with quite a large circle of people around you? Are you? Have you got, or would you say you're more a private individual? I would say that
I am more. I have a very, very, very small inner circle. Like these are the people who, they know they get the real inside stuff about what might be going on in my life right in this moment. And then of course I have the people that walk with me on this journey, the people who see the content and things like that. And those are the people who, I try to give my all to. But I think with all of us, we do have that group of people that are just the real closest, and like they're the people who you kind of talk about the real deep concepts with and ideas with, and that's what I was saying.
I found as I've got older, I've become more selective over those people that are close by me. It's important, I think, to have people that, if you're a sensitive individual, which everyone can probably see you are, it's important to have people near you who are going to be mindful of that, and not the ones that are not going to kind of rip your energy or take your energy away, So I think it's I've become more selective as I've got older myself.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's a really intelligent way of living, because, and this might sound arrogant, but it isn't supposed to. You know, I think that a lot of people, they're still learning how to come from a loving place. They're still learning how to navigate their emotions and their possible traumas from the past. You know?
Well,
so
the human existence isn't easy, is it?
Wow, if there's ever a statement, it's that. No, it is not.
Human existence, double dots, not easy.
Tattoo material, get it like put in stone somewhere. Yeah, 100%. It's but like, again, it comes back to the troughs, you know, the going up and the coming, like that's all. And I had a real problem with this concept, but there is a part of me that sees it. You know, it's, you go up and down so that you can continue to evolve, because if you just keep going up and up, you'll eventually reach a point where you cease to need to be around anything or anyone, and therefore the growth will, to a certain degree, stop.
Well, at the very least, you need time and space to reflect on the highs, don't you? The highs of life. You need to withdraw just to actually put it all together in your mind.
And which is a really excellent point, because it's also, you wouldn't have the appreciation and the gratitude for the high times if you didn't know what the low times were.
Like a
right?
Sine wave, isn't it? Basically, a sine wave, which is the fundamental building blocks of the universe. I think, you know, waves and energy, which all move in that kind of peaks and troughs manner that you're describing.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
And but part of the reason, James, that I brought you here today, because I wanted, my channel is only a relatively new channel. We've covered extensively the crop circles. We've done. We spent the whole summer basically during lockdown camping out in crop circles overnight that have just formed, and we had a great time making a few of the movies on the channel. And we've branched over to orbs and UFOs and strange cloud formations that are happening all over the place at the moment. But I wanted to introduce to my channel something which you know a lot about, and you've been talking a lot about for a fair while, and that is Ascension. So when I say that to people, they say, well, what's that? So, James, what is it?
It's funny, because I'd say we kind of touched on it in the beginning of our call today. I would say that Ascension can be summed up by the evolution of human consciousness, and also the human body, in the sense that as we begin to understand more about ourselves, as we begin to dive within, which there's the key part. For anybody watching, if you want to know what Ascension is, it is really that diving within. Because we think about ascending as rising, but it's not so much rising as it is going within. Because a lot of humanity, we've been taught to block out the within. We've been taught to
ignore our emotions,
to ignore it, to constrict it, absolutely, you know, and then put it to the side. However, in order for us to reach higher levels of consciousness and higher levels of understanding of the world, ourselves, and the people around us, it is a process of going within, having a look at what you believe, who you are, what you feel, because this is important. This is why in any of my content, I try to keep it open, you know, not to give rules or give absolutes, but to say like, hey, this is an idea. What do you feel? You know, because you know, would be different for everybody. And it's really just, I believe, is ascending into, and this is where, you know, actually, no, I'm being silly. You guys will understand this. Is rising in through these different ideas of dimensions, right? Wavelengths and vibrations and moving up. We talk about UFOs, and we talk about extraterrestrials and people from other planets. It's my understanding they're just our brothers and sisters that live elsewhere in our universe, in our solar system. You know, like they're perhaps, you know, there's different beings, different races, but that's the kind of idea I feel. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's slightly changed of late, actually, because in the past few months, as I've felt the Earth energy increase at speed and velocity, everything seems to be happening much faster, almost. So it's almost all at once. So everything has the potential at any given moment to happen all at once, and that has never really been felt for me in my 40 odd years. Never felt the case before. And with that, I've been trying to like go to that spot, that quiet spot. I've been channeling loads has been coming through my pen about the meaning of time, actually, and how it's a semi-illusory nature. In order to get across the construct that everything does exist, they've broken it down kind of into like days, which are predictable, and time, which is predictable, working like in opposite to chaos, which also exists. You know, so there's lots of coming. And I'm not clever enough. Have those thoughts, but they all came through in a flurry. 7 pages worth of stuff in about less than an hour, really. So with that, the tone that they're adopting, connected with your question about brothers or sisters, there's love for us. There's love. There's utter hope that we can make it, that we can become more than we currently are. But we're not there. We're not there, and it feels to me time is running out. I don't know about you.
Yeah, and there is a part of me that also believes we are coming up to a pinnacle moment. Is it December the 21st? Is it next year, the year? I don't know that, and I'm never going to try and be. That's almost irrelevant. It doesn't matter. What matters is that... Do you
think it'd be a clean cut moment? A clean shift, a clean change? For one moment, bang, we're going to transform? Or is it going to be a gradual process? Well, I don't know the answer to these questions.
No, which is they're excellent questions. And if I'm just to completely tap into myself now, I think that even as we're talking about the concept of time, that it will be simply gradual. There may be a moment that we say, oh, wow, that was pretty, obvious that it was this moment. But then from that point onwards, we're still going through the evolution process. And it's interesting what you say about time. Because I am reading a book at the minute called The Oversoul 7 by Jane Roberts, a fantastic woman, channeled a lot of the Seth material, if anybody know that.
Read that.
And she talks about the Oversoul, and then the Oversoul governing different personalities, which are in different time periods. So we've got this Oversoul, which is the umbrella, and then we have different personalities or humans or people in different time zones, and they can go from one point to the other, go forwards, backwards, and just go anywhere. But Oh, can you hear? Okay.
Sorry, I just had an alarm go off on my phone.
That's all right.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. I was listening quite intently.
That's all right. and it's they go and they explore these different time periods. So exactly what you said. This is the time is an illusion based upon when you start to reach these higher levels of consciousness, because then you realize it's traversable. You can actually traverse times and appear in those periods, just like it's like anything, like it's breathing. Reality becomes more controllable. So, for instance, if you wanted it to rain, it could rain, and etc.
Yeah, I fully agree. You have the power to transform your immediate surroundings. Everyone has that power. Our actual where we are sat now and everything we can see and feel around us, that's everything is within our power to change. I think it's a lot about having a positive mindset, having a mindset which can in the bleakest moments find the silver lining, and move toward the silver line. That's going to unlock, I think, a lot of processes moving forward. I think. I don't know if you agree, but
yeah, I do. And it comes down to I think, and this is actually more irrelevant than it is, but it's something important for people to think about. I think that our intentions are very important. As we begin to perhaps unlock these different attributes in ourselves, the ability to see more, to move through dimensions, to meditate into connecting really deeply with different beings across the universe. And our intentions are important. What do we want to do with that level of responsibility? And I will give a very short example. I don't know how people feel about this. I'm exploring it myself.
Well, then here's with it.
But I did. this is like first level stuff. I haven't shared this with anybody. But I did have a session with a lovely lady, and we went through some interesting stuff. And she did say that Archangel Michael came and gave me the sword of Excalibur. Okay. That was the idea of it.
Symbol.
Quite. Now, the interesting thing I took from that, because from visualizations that I've done myself on a personal level before, is an immense amount of power. But other than that is the responsibility that comes with it. For example, all of the content I share out there, the videos, the posts, like, to me, there is a real responsibility to always come from that place of love as much as I humanly can, humanly being a big important word there, and really just try to give the people what it is they need without ever infringing upon free will. So this level of power and responsibility, whilst also understanding what is my intention, and this is why I always tell my the people who walk with me to do this. Ask yourselves, what's James's intention? Is he trying to get you money? Is he trying to become famous? Is he egotistical? What does he ask yourself? Because then when you start to ask those questions of other people, I mean this with love, you'll find out who has the best of intentions and who doesn't have the best of intentions. So, yeah.
A lot of people that watch me mistake my kind of mirage of being a confident person for to be fair, I do that. I'm very flippant from time to time. That gets me in trouble. But it's not that never comes from a horrible place. It never comes from a horrible place. But I get mistaken for being kind of a bit like trying to draw the limelight. I think I'm not quite sure how to best combat that. Maybe I need to come to you for a session on how to appear humble. James.
Well, in the same breath, we are personalities so that we may experience every facet of it. So maybe that attribute of yourself is actually what people need to see. It's all like, and this is again funny, this is again like the humble position. Like, it's always understanding that I understand that who I am is not necessarily what anybody needs to be. That's it. Like, I don't walk around,
I wouldn't wish myself on anyone else. No.
No, I know that. I know. So, okay, let me try and explain this a bit better. It's in like,
my goodness, thank God there's not two of me walking around.
I know, right? I don't know if people would be able to deal with two James Malins walking around, but it's more of it coming from me, not to relate to this in this moment. Like, I try to see, so in any given moment, who's to say that your personality and that attribute is wrong, or there's anything wrong with it, or it's bad? Some people will love to see that side of you, and then there's always going to be somebody who won't. Like, same with me. Somebody will be like, James Malins is a bit of a, look at him, he's up himself, all these tattoos, he looks like a thug, and then someone will be, oh, cool, I like his message. I appreciate that.
I love I love neck tattoos. I couldn't have one. I was a teacher for a lot of years, so I never had any tattoo on my visible body. But I've got the Caduceus tattooed right the way down my spine.
Interesting. What's
the staff that Hermes that carry through the land of the dead? But actually, today represents trades and associations connected with God. Apparently,
I've seen it. I apologise. It's literally a profile picture, and I was looking at it earlier. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. The two snakes going around the central. It's not, by the way, it's not the medical symbol. That's just got one serpent, in case anyone's wondering. So back just to finish off a little bit, and I don't want to take up all your afternoon, but a little bit just to wrap up about Ascension. So we established that we think it's probably going to be a process which can be reflected on over time, so rather than an abrupt change. You think it's a process to do with going inwards, looking inwards, finding yourself, but then what?
It's interesting.
And how do you transmute that information into these higher dimensional frequencies?
Well, and just before I answer that, it's really fascinating because I saw a post on Facebook which had an image of every single crop circle, so they say, for the past 20 years. And I've saved all of those images, and I'm going to dive into your YouTube videos and watch them more clearly. And my point from that is that I also believe that what will come from it is contact and communication with beings from around the galaxy. I do believe that. I believe that it's being prepared at the minute. I believe that this is the case, because if we think about
sorry, go on.
Absolutely. No, you're totally right. It's being revealed bit by bit. And I think that even if we go back to, ancient Egypt and before that, all of the hieroglyphs, all of the information that's being channeled about the true ancient history of Earth, we already had contact many years ago. This is why the pyramids exist, because they are energy machines. They are able to really nurture and create these toroidal energy fields so that we can learn how to, again, ascend from within. And I believe that that will come back again. Well, the question is, are we ready for it?
Yeah, that is the big question, isn't it? And are we at sustainable numbers across the world? The billions of us, is that a sustainable number of people to ascend? These are the questions I have running, the fearful questions I have running through my mind. The other thing is that really plagues me at this point is I feel that if we were given a chance as a kind of species to prove ourselves, then surely the biggest part of that has to be guardianship of the planet. And well, the rate of extinction and I can't even think about it. I've become too emotional. You know, I was on those XR protests over the summer, helping the people that had been arrested get back onto the front line and some of that. But you know, that worries me. That if that must be surely one of the criteria for ascension, wouldn't you think?
It really is a good question, because I would agree with you. You know, to be able to see, for instance, I'll even show you. So to be able to see the gift in the plants, the animals, the even the earth that you walk on, and be able to the tree behind, the life behind you. It really is, to be able to see that and appreciate it is a high level form of consciousness, because it begins to separate the importance of yourself, and you begin to merge yourself with everything around you becomes important. You know, it becomes something that is you live in harmony with, instead of looking to just be we say that humans are, the controlling species, the sentient, but the truth is, and if you look in the eyes of an animal, that's not, I don't feel that's true. You know, I look in the eyes, I have 2 dogs, and when I look in one of them, you can see the emotion in her, she's,
they're glorious. Dogs are wonderful, the most faithful creatures to their owners, and that faithfulness is something you've really got to cherish, because isn't that something which humans struggle with, to be honest, remaining faithful and committed, which is pot, kettle and black here, hands up, but to remain in that kind of state of being in a faithful, committed relationship is something which everyone struggles with. Dogs, they got it mastered, haven't they?
Yeah, and that's really an interesting question, because there are a lot of facets to that, and I think that the thing that dogs really provide is they seem to have only positive emotion towards the if they're given love, of course. There's different aspects of this, but if a dog is loved and cared for, it seems to only ever adopt a positive emotion.
Yeah,
which I believe is simply because they live right in here and now. They're not thinking about going to work tomorrow, or they're not thinking about going.
They're not holding a grudge against you.
No, they are literally here right now in this moment, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. Because if we could live right here in this moment, which I'm not saying is all possible, because it's such a big oopsie.
Hello again. No, it's not impossible either, though, to live in the moment, to come more in the moment than to be distracted by heavy thoughts or worrisome thoughts about your plans or whatever it might be that's plaguing. Because that's a plague. Is that people that have my mum? Hands up, Mum, I know you'll be watching. but she's one of those people who, through her, she's getting better now, actually, now she's 72, but she's through her life, she's always struggled with her thoughts. She's been worried about every single person else but herself, her whole life. She's coming to terms with it now, but that's a disease, if anything, an illness, which can be treated, I think, with a bit of injection with the likes of you, I'd imagine, when people sit with you and have a session or whatever happens in your work. I'm not quite sure. I'm sure they leave feeling rejuvenated, because that's what you've given them.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope so. And I think that, a lot of the work I do in my sessions, I help people to discover what is their truth, right? For example, I know a lot of people who really do worry about, everybody else, and they care about everybody else, and they leave themselves last. In that moment, the question I only ever ask is, are you giving, okay, let me change that. are you able to give more if you put yourself first rather than putting yourself last? Because it's kind of like and this is the truth. I will only ever put myself first. Isn't that funny? Because I talk about being humble and think that's something that might sound arrogant. However,
no, those two things can exist at the same time. Yeah, definitely.
100%. So it's almost like
if you're going to start putting other people immediately ahead of you, then you're going to lose part of yourself instead of building yourself up before then allowing you to go out to help others.
100%.
Straightforward to me, and you're doing exactly the right thing. Don't let anyone, I'm talking from experience here, like try and persuade you you're doing it the wrong way, because that's how I've always operated. Well, since I was 21, in fact, when this body died, and I walked in, and until that point I was a different person. But age 21, that's another story coming up on the website. But at that point there was a soul shift, and I walked in, and I've been that person for 21 years now.
I look forward to hearing that story, but that would be amazing to hear.
Perhaps we could just finish. We want to keep it about half an hour, I think. Probably that's a good podcast, I've been told. I want to hear your final words about Ascension. Some advice for people going forward, how to deal with the process, how to respond if we do have contact with, which seems very likely, with ETs. What's your advice for the people that might be watching?
The first advice I want to give is be very aware of what your definition of your reality is. Because a lot of people watch the news, they listen to a lot of very fearful things, and it starts to be their truth. I'm not saying it isn't, I'm not saying to ignore the reality around you, but be aware of your definition of it. Because your reality, as we've discussed, can change in a moment. But not only that, things are changing behind the scenes. And always remember there's an image. There's an image of a box. On one side it looks like a circle, on one side it looks like a box, on one side it looks like a triangle from different shapes and angles. There is many different truths because it's not a lie, but there is also something on the outside. Just be aware of everything. And as we said, be selfish until you can give to others, okay? And then just give it time. We're going through a huge amount of energy. We're changing, we're shifting. I believe our DNA is changing as well. That's something that's really coming up a lot at the minute. And be patient. Right?
Yeah, it's a minefield what's happening to my consciousness at this point. Yeah. Sorry, and anything else?
And that's exactly it. Just give yourself time, meditate if you have the capacity to do so, and look after you.
Exactly. Breathe. Whatever you do.
Yes. Yeah, that's massive, especially with what's going on at the minute. Give that moment to you bring that life in, bring that energy in. That's massive. That's a huge point right there. Yeah,
exactly. I found through the years, just imagine yourself breathing in bright fluorescent lights and colours, breathing them all in, and then hold it, and then breathe out the kind of negativity and with kind of force. Just imagine. I imagine the horrible. I'm in a really foul mood. Black smoke. Kind of just get rid of it all and breathe in the light again and hold the light, and that's that. Yeah, that's absolutely how I do it anyway. James, it's been lovely meeting you today.
Likewise. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No. I'm very grateful.
Forward to the more videos that you post.
Yeah. I'll make sure it's up in the next 4 or 5 days, something like that. So, lovely to talk to you, and thanks for adding some clarity over Ascension, because I didn't really have much of a clue myself before this call began. So that's great.
No, it's my pleasure, and thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who is listening. And I appreciate you all, truly.
Cool. See you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.